I mean, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities, I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned, But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
Hello, this is another News for You live stream brought to you by Lindsay at Freedom Media WA. No doubt about it, the past decade has seen several jaw-dropping claims that put fact checkers to the test and toss in a 1 in 100 year cold or flu, and the fact checkers shifted into overdrive, often going overboard. They censored or shadow banned social media posts, labelling them as tinfoil hat fodder. Yet as we now know, those posts turned out to be more accurate than ever. Still, the fact checkers remain in stubborn denial. But here's the kicker. Whilst Bob Katter's assertion that crocodile attacks happen every 3 months may have been a stretch, the truth is they do occur.
Now to a dramatic crocodile attack survival in Queensland's far north, fighting off an almost 3 metre long salty on a fishing trip.
One man critically injured, mauled by a 2.5 metre saltwater crocodile in remote far north Queensland. The other in a wheelchair after risking his own life to save one of his mates.
As evidenced by the nose on your face, the referendum has consumed much of Anthony Albanese's attention. Yet in the shadows of the corridors of Canberra, a relentless parliamentary committee has been forging Albo's potential weapon to combat the relentless onslaught of misinformation with its mis- and disinformation bill. The wailing voices of the Yes campaigners fall into insignificance by comparison as they shed their crocodile tears. I'm sure you would have heard the crocodile tears of Yes campaigners with this catch cry.
It's misinformation.
Misinformation.
The misinformation.
The misinformation. Misinformation.
Albanese recognises that this is his only weapon to take on the ever-expanding social media arenas, the new town square, where public truth reigns supreme, minus the spin. To be very clear, what I'm talking about is this. Anthony Albanese is going to censor your social media town square, one way or another, by hook or by crook. Albo's mindset is clear on ending your free speech, saying recently, quote, "It's quite strange the opposition has turned on Labor's social media disinformation crackdown first proposed by the coalition," end quote. Well, for Albanese to compare the previous coalition government's approved changes to ACMA, that's the Australian Communications Media Authority, in the way it seeks to regulate free speech is like comparing chalk to cheese day to night. There's just no comparison. Public consultation on the proposed draft bill was set to close on August the 6th. Then without any advertising publicly to advise the date had been pushed out to August the 20th, that was due to being inundated with submission. A proposed bill that states the government will exempt itself from the spread of any misinformation. Why would this be of concern? Well,
the member for Hume on a point of order.
Relevance, Mr Speaker. We've given him 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and he is not talking about the question.
Resume your seat. Resume your seat. The question said at the end, can Australians believe anything the Prime Minister says? That was in the question. Can Australians believe anything the Prime Minister says?
Albo absolutely wanted, in fact, he near begged you to believe this.
Megan Davis said this.
No, seriously, it's a serious one now. Like, fuck, this is referendum fucking dead serious, right?
There's been a lot of news this week that the Uluru Statement is 26 pages long, but it's 1 page. That's the statement. That is what we issued to the Australian people. Indeed, this conspiracy has been around a while. And on behalf of the Australian Labor Party, I commit to the Uluru Statement from the heart in full.
Really, the Uluru Statement is a very important 18-page document that I say as a constitutional lawyer is a very important constitutional document.
The Uluru Statement from the heart, which I tabled, the 1-page document. The 1-page document. And they know full well that Megan Davis has made it very clear that the Uluru Statement is 1 page.
It's, as I said, a part of the 18-page document known as the Uluru Statement from the heart.
Even if this question again...
Can Australians believe anything the Prime Minister says?
It doesn't matter whether the people believe Albo, because Albo has nothing to fear from his mis- and disinformation bill if it gets up, because his misleading statements, his misinformation statements, despite evidence to the contrary, will not be censored. Do you see the problem now? Citizens need to be able to convey their opinions to government and engage in the criticism of policy. The government needs to accept this criticism, even vehement criticism, as part and parcel of governing in a democracy. Free speech does the work of democratic governance by holding the likes of Albo maintaining his one-page Uluru Statement of the Heart falsehood to account. Add in the fact there is no public interest disclosure exemption under this proposed bill. This means independent media like Freedom Media WA reporting on activities that a government might be undertaking with or without transparency and, dare I say, illegality or corruptly, will be blocked. Your comments, if you post any comments that will be considered dissent on a government policy, you will also be prohibited from doing so. On the ACMA website, they published 1,265 submissions were received in relation to this proposed mis- and disinformation bill. As you can see, it says ACMA expects to receive some 2,000 submissions. The Minister of Communications, Michelle Rowland, the very same minister who accepted $8,960 for a dinner to support her election campaign and another donation of $10,000 just days before the last election from the gambling giant Sportsbet and also Albo, have been in overdrive to hide from you exactly how many submissions were made into this mis- and disinformation bill. Last Thursday, David Coleman, the Shadow Communications MP, revealed exactly how many.
Member for Banks.
Well, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, the farce and outrage that is the Albanese government's misinformation bill continues, Deputy Speaker. Now, last time we met in this chamber, Deputy Speaker, we knew there were a lot of people who were angry about the bill. We knew there were a lot of people had put in submissions, but we didn't know how many, Deputy Speaker. Well, it turns out, Deputy Speaker, that the total number of Australians who have put in a submission or made comments on this appalling bill is 23,000, Deputy Speaker, 23,000. And they've joined people like the New South Wales Council of Civil Liberties in condemning the bill, the Queensland Council of Civil Liberties, the Human Rights Commission, Deputy Speaker. So many different groups that have condemned this appalling bill, which gives an extraordinary amount of power to ACMA, Deputy Speaker. And we know that this is not theoretical, Deputy Speaker, because those opposite constantly referred to misinformation, Deputy Speaker, in the context of the Voice referendum, and basically meaning things that they did not like. And this is a very dangerous piece of legislation. It is a wrong piece of legislation for Australia, and that is why the condemnation has been so universal. It should be withdrawn. It is an outrageous affront to our democracy, and it is shameful that the Albanese government is still persevering with this appalling piece of legislation.
Not only is Albo persevering with this bill, Michelle Rowland is maintaining that it's likely to be tabled next month, despite 23,000 submissions to trawl through. Let's have a look of some of her bureaucrats confirming this position.
What about the drafting, the draft bill at the moment?
We have been advising the department on the implementation of the government's policy around how that bill would actually work in practice, but our focus was really on how that would be, depending on the decisions of government, how that would be implemented.
So the department's drafting it and you're liaising with them?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. Have you been involved in any meetings with the Minister's office or Prime Minister's office to discuss the bill, the draft bill?
No, Senator.
The Minister said that we would have the bill by the end of the year. Do you think that that's likely?
Senator, I think the department this morning indicated that that was the current timetable. I don't have any further information I can add to the...
You're confident that it'll be in the Senate and the House within the next couple of weeks?
That's the timetable that we've been advised of. I don't have any further information.
They haven't advised you differently?
They haven't advised us differently, no.
Okay. I mean, considering that we're seeing these submissions come through that are suggesting significant changes to the drafting of what's currently proposed, you're not finding it difficult to believe it'll be within the...
Senator, we're involved in discussions with the department about various aspects of drafting, and as I said, really pretty much focused on the implementation of options rather than the policy options themselves. But we're working together with the department on the time frame that they've advised us they're working to.
So if, by chance, this bill does come to us and gets passed, how many more staff will ACMA need?
I don't...
Has that been modelled or looked at?
I don't think...
Right, so you haven't put a new budget in for next budget or MAEFO if this bill's passed and you require more staff? That's already been factored in.
I think we'd wait and see the end shape of the bill.
As you've just heard, it's full steam ahead on this bill, regardless of the well-founded submissions pleading for proper consideration and more consultation. Albo's plan seems to be to get the bill up and then, like The Voice, work on the details and staffing levels afterwards, knowing that the details won't bother him or the left-leaning taxpayer-funded broadcaster, the ABC, as they will be exempt.
Senator Rennick. Yeah, hi guys. Just asking, are you responsible for regulating social media, or do they comply with a voluntary code?
Senator, at the moment, the digital platforms in terms of misinformation and disinformation is only covered currently by the voluntary code.
Okay, so you've got no powers to enforce what they post or what they don't post?
That's correct.
Right, so they get to determine their own rules?
Currently, yes.
So what happens when they decide to pull down posts by people and those people have no recourse? I mean, given that social media today is the town square, how can democracy flourish when we're having foreign-owned companies come in and just arbitrarily delete posts without any recourse for those people to protest that?
That's where the bill is going, is to try and get greater transparency about what they've got in place, how they're going about things, how they're making decisions on either taking content down.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I note that, for example, Twitter has had a head of public policy who is an ex-Labor staffer, and also the same for Meta, who's had a head of censorship, I'll call it censorship, who's also an ex-Labor and Democratic staffer. But I'm concerned, on your website you say that you should go to accurate sources of information, and you actually refer to RMIT Fact Check, AAP Fact Check and AFP Fact Check. I mean, earlier today we've shown where these fact checkers have actually been wrong as well. Why do you think these guys are actually the fact checkers? Because I think that's an Orwellian term. I mean, who gets to call themselves a fact checker and who gets to fact check the fact checkers?
Senator, I haven't turned my mind to that question. I think it's a very good question.
Well, that's the problem. You've referred to these guys, and I mean, I've got an article right here from my colleague where the judge lashes the ABC for misleading press release in regards to Heston Russell. That's cost the taxpayer close to $1 million.
I'm happy to...
3 million, my apology. There you go, a bit of misinformation there, sorry. So, 3 million. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit upset that seeing you refer to these particular agencies who, in my view, and I've been watching them for a couple of years now, are running a political agenda. So why these guys get to be put on a pedestal?
Senator, I'm not quite sure that we see them as running a political agenda, but that's your view. I'm happy to take it on notice.
Time will tell what happens next month or early next year when this bill comes to Parliament, whether it gets up or not. However, it's not what you really should be worried about. Airbus Albo and his partner, Jetstar Jody, on yet again another taxpayer-funded junket to the US last week, dropped a bombshell partnership deal with Microsoft. If Albo believes the tech giants like Microsoft and Meta, which is formerly Facebook and Instagram, will restrict their focus to merely cybersecurity, in the wise words of the 1997 iconic Australian comedy film The Castle,
he's dreaming. Tell him he's dreaming. Tell him he's dreaming. Yeah. Dreaming.
He is dreaming. The deal Albo pitched during the extravagant junket photo op is set to become yet again another instance of political spin, all aimed at securing votes in the upcoming next federal election. How? Where Albo's mission is to gain control over your social media interactions. Will Airbus Albo exploit this partnership with Microsoft to overstep the bounds once more, leveraging Microsoft's expanded infrastructure to muffle your voice? To end, have a look at the next package and comment below with what you think. Of course, don't forget that you can play a vital role in combating Airbus Albo's plan by liking and, more importantly, sharing this stream. Thank you.
Microsoft plans to spend $5 billion over 2 years to bolster Australia's cybersecurity, cloud computing and AI capabilities.
That's been the focus of the Prime Minister's first full day in the United States. His government tonight teaming up with tech giant Microsoft.
A face among the flags.
My visit is focusing on building an alliance for the future.
Microsoft tonight announcing a $5 billion partnership, including developing artificial intelligence and the establishment of Australia's first cyber shield alongside the Australian Signals Directorate.
Cyber.
The company will build another 9 data storage centres and offer training to hundreds of Australians in the tech industry, while also putting artificial intelligence to work for the government.
Now, when it comes to the challenge which we have of dealing with this, it's complex. You don't want to interfere with any freedom of expression, but you also want to make sure that elections can be held and democratic processes can be held in an appropriate way.
What we're fundamentally doing, in our view, is building the AI capacity for the nation of Australia.